Hello, happy day, happy life, happy journey. Great to be with you today. Welcome to Walking the Path. My name is John Jacob Mubarak, and I am one of the directors here at Rythmia and an Agape licensed spiritual practitioner, which means, what is an Agape licensed spiritual practitioner? We are individuals who have devoted ourselves to the study of the mystical teachings, committed ourselves to prayer, and we are in essence the ecclesiastical arm of the community, of the Agape community. And we are licensed by Agape, and we do various things within the community, but also one of the most amazing things that I get to do is to do private sessions with individuals who are seeking spiritual counseling based on universal principle. And so this is one of the joys, right, of being a practitioner. So when I say, and I'm an Agape licensed spiritual practitioner, I get to be in that field and I get to work with people in addition to speaking and teaching and all of those other things that go along with being a practitioner. And then as a director at Rythmia, which I was just talking to Jerry, and he said to me, you know, if you wouldn't do your job, you gotta love what you're doing, and if you wouldn't do your job for free, then you're in the wrong business, you know? And it really clicked with me, like, I would do this, I'd do this for free. Oh, don't tell him I said that. But what a privilege to be able to work with people, to walk the path with people on their path of spiritual growth and development, and to be of service here at Rythmia, to be of service to the medicine, to be of service to our community, and get to be self-expressed within that. What a joy, what a privilege. So that is a little description of director at Rythmia and Agape licensed spiritual practitioner. And today's topic is answered prayer. So this job is answered prayer. This work is answered prayer. And we are answered prayer. So your prayers are always answered. Your prayers are always answered. They may not be answered in the way that we want them to be, but there's always an answer. There's always a response. It might be for our growth, our development. It might be a lesson. It might be a blessing. But the prayer is always answered. Are we willing to receive it? Are we willing to hear and to see what that answer is? And that really is our willingness to be open and receptive. So I want to share a story with you about answered prayer from a long-term perspective, and then we'll talk about it in our individual lives. So I was with Reverend Michael and Agape. We were traveling in Ghana, and we visited a place called Cape Cove, which for over 200 plus years was one of the major exporting ports for slaves. And so basically there was this beautiful church and all of the European buildings above and below the church, below all of the administrative buildings, were the dungeons for the slaves. And we learned that many times slaves were captured because they were captured maybe a 2-month walk from where Cape Cove was. They were captured in just whatever they were wearing, and then they would be taken and have to walk for months to get to this place. So frequently by the time they arrived to Cape Cove, they were naked. The clothes wore off their bodies. And there was a river outside, and they'd wash the individuals in the river and then take them into these dungeons. And they would stay there for months. And if literally living in excrement, and they would, if you got sick, they would put you someplace to die, and if you didn't get sick, they just held you there. And then there was a passageway that went from the dungeon underground to the door of no return, where once you passed through that door, you would get on the ship and you would never return. And then, of course, there was the passage, right? The middle passage, which has its own story. So we were in the dungeons, and Reverend Michael was leading a meditation. And I remember the energy being so heavy there. Every picture that was taken of me there, I had this like look on my face, very heavy, very unsettling. So we were in the dungeon. You could see on the floor, it looked like it was dirt floor, but it wasn't. It was hundreds of years of human excrement that had turned to soil. And they had cleared away a portion, a good foot of it that we were standing on that just looked like dirt. But they had cleared away a portion of it, and you could see the original brick floor, and there were these carvings in the floor made by the individuals who were in, the men and women. We won't call them slaves, we'll call them men and women that were in the dungeon. And you could see from the chains that they made these carvings on the floor. So, man, it was so heavy. And here we are, and Reverend Michael leads this meditation. And he begins by saying, I want you to think of the men and women that were housed here, that were held here, and see them living their best life. See them living their dreams. What do you see them doing? And in my mind, I could see them getting married and celebrating their children, the birth of children. I could see them running free and living lives in community and being parents and being children and being community members and leaders and all of the activities that they might do. So I just saw this life, this whole life. I didn't see them as individuals sequestered in this dungeon. I saw them living their best lives. And then Reverend Michael asked us to imagine, not only imagine their best lives, but to realize, to think of the prayers that they must have said in this dungeon. And to realize that us, standing there hundreds of years later, were the answer to their prayers. That we were answered prayer on our little pilgrimage to Cape Cove. And then he asked us to think about our future generations, whether they were our specific lineage or whether they might be just the generations, not our specific bloodline, but the following generations, no matter what, whether it was your child or just the next generation or generations. And realize that those generations are our answered prayer. So begin to see this continuum of prayer, of hope, of aspiration, of dreams, and realize that how important your dreams are, how important our dreams are, because all prayer is answered. Prayer is always answered. It might not turn out in the time that we expect it or in the way that we expect it, but prayer is always answered. And so we begin to see in that example of the Cape Cove that there's a continuum of answered prayer, that our lives are the answers to our ancestors' prayers, that you and I, living our life right now, are the answered prayer to our grandparents and great-grandparents who might have struggled to immigrate to this country and to just want a good life for their progeny. So that's the first level of answered prayer. The second level of answered prayer is in our own lives, and our willingness to be open and receptive to that prayer is our ability to receive the answer to our prayer. because things manifest for various reasons in our lives. Sometimes things manifest in our lives because of our own thinking, where our intention and attention flows, our energy goes, our personality creates our personal reality, which our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings create a certain energetic signature that is then expressed into a creative medium that responds to our thinking. And so many times what we are experiencing in life is a direct answer to the energetic expression that we have put out. So at one level, things that manifest in our lives are an effect of our thinking. Either consciously or unconsciously, it's always working in that way. It's a reflective universe. The next level of manifestation comes in terms of things happening to teach us something. And frequently our higher self will create situations that cause us to grow. It's like our subconscious is creating a situation that is perfect for us to move into the next iteration of our greatest yet to be. And so it might appear to be a hard time or a heartache, but it's really happening as a way of us learning from this situation, and we grow from it. Another reason or way that things manifest in our experience is they become a real blessing, right? We've all had experiences of something that happened in our lives that if we would have known before, like before, March, in February, we wouldn't have known about the coronavirus and what was going to happen. And we probably wouldn't want to go through it if we knew. If we could look ahead into a crystal ball and go, oh, this stuff's going to happen, we might not want to go through it. However, on the other side of this, we're going to be seeing how many blessings, how many amazing miracles occurred during this time. Even when we've lost families and friends and loved ones, that there is a blessing there in this. So it's another reason why things that might not appear at first to be, they might not appear at first to be a blessing, but on the other side of it, we're different because of it. We wouldn't have wanted to go through it if we would have known about it before, but on the other end, we see the blessing in it. And then sometimes things just manifest in terms of our collective unconscious, our unified mind, that we as individuals have our own energetic field and create our own reality, and then we merge together in a collective space and we can manifest things collectively, our collective fear. In fact, there was a beautiful YouTube presentation when this first came out called I Created the Coronavirus. And it was a shaman who had done plant medicine and saw that this could be an expression of his individual and our collective fear. So in any of those elements of manifestation, the way things manifest and occur in our lives, each of those is an answered prayer. Each of those provides an opportunity for us to receive something that we really wanted. In other words, we are answered prayer. Our lives are the answer to our parents' prayers. Think about how many people have prayed for us throughout our lives. How many people cared for us and were praying for the best outcome in a situation for us. Or those of us who were lucky to have really attentive parents who wanted the best for us. And those of us who might not have had that experience with our parents, we've all had someone who mothered us or fathered us. They might not be our biological parents, but there was someone in our lives that provided the figure of father or the figure of mother and provided that love and prayer for us. We've all experienced that at some level. So we ourselves are the answer to those prayers. Our lives are the answer to those prayers. And then each thing that's manifesting and occurring in our lives is the answer to our prayer. Are we willing to see it? And the key to being willing to see it is the key to being willing to see it is to honor it all. That's the title of our LGBTQ week coming up with David Alt, who will be the guest speaker that week. It's in September. So all my LGBTQ brothers and sisters, book for September, because it's going to be an amazing week. I love the title, Honor It All, because it speaks to a fundamental truth of plant medicine, which is, and a fundamental truth of metaphysics really, which is if we feel it, it will heal. The feeling is the healing. When we allow ourselves to feel everything that we're feeling without judgment and opinion, and that's hard. When we allow ourselves to do that, we're actually healing. I'm going through something right now personally in my life where I'm having to feel some things that don't really feel very good. And I'm judging myself for having these types of feelings and thoughts. And the instruction is to just don't waste time in self-recrimination, but to feel what I'm feeling. And in the feeling of it, in fully feeling it, I'm healing it. So the feeling is the healing. This is how it, in ceremony, when you're in ceremony, you're finding something uncomfortable, instead of trying to bypass it and subvert it, suppress it, fully feeling it is the fastest way to heal it. Suppressing it or bypassing it, what we resist persists. We're actually muddying the waters further. It's like trying to make mud settle in a bucket of water by pushing it down. You can't do it. You got to let the water be still for the mud to settle out and to separate from the water. So we've got to be still. We've got to allow ourselves to feel everything that we're feeling. This is the way that we can see and understand that all of our prayers are answered. All of our prayers are answered, every single one of them. Every true and good desire of our heart is answered. And how do we know if it's a true and good desire? One, it doesn't hurt anybody else. Two, it doesn't hurt us. So as long as what we desire doesn't hurt somebody else and isn't causing harm for us, isn't causing harm for the community, then it's a true and good desire of our heart. And guess what? The true and good desires of your heart and my heart are the true and good desires of God, the true and good desires of the divine. So we can know that what we want is what God wants for us when it is a true and good desire. And we can stand in that awareness as answered prayer. So, prayer is always answered. We are the answer. We are the answer to our ancestors' prayers. Just your life itself is the answer to so many prayers, just you being you right now. And recognize, take a moment to observe and be open and available to receive the answers to your prayers right now. And the way that we do that is by feeling everything. Feeling what we're feeling and allowing ourselves to feel everything that we are experiencing fully, without judgment. For if you want to know the truth, give up your opinions and judgments. That was something Ram Dass said. So that is our Walking the Path talk today. Thank you, brothers and sisters, friends and family, dear ones. Thank you for joining. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to share with you and to remind you that your life is answered prayer. Peace and blessings. Thank you.